Gang, hope you are very well. Welcome to another YouTube video. We are actually going to get straight into it as usual. Excuse the whole rustiness that's going to be very apparent in this YouTube video. However, the vlogs are back officially. I'm going to show you why I've been away, why my training split has drastically changed, and also gonna give you a little cheeky I suppose it's like a cheeky reward for viewing this YouTube video. So sit back, relax, hope you're well, and let's fucking get into it. So if you've been an avid watcher of this YouTube, or even if you're pretty active on Instagram, you might have clocked that I haven't been, I suppose, like as active on either platforms, and there's a huge reason for that. Number one, running two businesses, that obviously takes its toll on just everything from a systematic standpoint. I think that if you run one business, it's stressful. If you run two businesses, it's like stress on fucking steroids. Steroids sounds very tempting right now, but it's a lot of stress, right? And I have spoken about like a third business in the vicinity in a near future, and I think that this life circumstance I'm about to talk about has actually elevated the timeline of wanting to run the third business. So there's a lot of like, I suppose, like external stress that I've had to deal with that meant that potentially, like from a content creation standpoint, like this, for example, it's just had to take a backseat. And I swear to sweet baby Jesus that all I'm doing at the minute is updating you on life circumstances, but not actually talking about the life circumstance, which is what this video is all about, really. So I'm going to fill in the gaps and then go from there. I don't know why I'm hiding this for longer than it needs to be, but this is a thing. Which, to be honest, is super fucking weird to even show you guys and to even talk about, but fuck. That's a thing. I suppose, like, yeah, it's a big like life circumstance. It's a bit of a like it's a lot of stress. If you've ever been through this situation before, then you can kind of resonate with someone who is very new to this. I'm sure if you have like 3 or 4 kids, you probably can look back at the first one and think, I remember that time, very stressful, not knowing, like just a fear of unknown kind of thing, right? But the reason why it's kind of like a little bit stressful is that I'll be really like open and honest, like with the way that I've got everything set up right now, I want to be the best father, which sounds super fucking weird still. I want to be the best father to this kid in the world. I want to spend as much time with the kid as possible. I want just to make sure that it's got everything it needs, you know. I want to create the best future for this being that I'm looking after, and obviously Nat's looking after as well. We'll hopefully introduce Nat later in the vlog if she's willing, but that's the situation right now. And obviously with the two businesses being where it is, I need to grab a way of potentially making time for this little thing, right? So that's where my like all of the external stresses come from, right? So yeah, hence my, I suppose, like need and requirement to potentially put Elevation, which is the coaching business, potentially on a back burner, and then driving the coaches trainer, which is kind of like business mentoring, as it were. Don't really like saying that it's business mentoring, but quite essentially that's what it is. So yeah, I've kind of like come away from one-to-one coaching. We're going to hire a few coaches as well, and that's going to hopefully run in the background all by itself, but obviously understand that all of that situation still comes with stress. So there's a few things that I really need to nail before this happens, right? Which is due in April, by the way, if you give a fuck. But yeah, I suppose that's the first update, which then brings us on to the training update and what's going on with training. Now understand that obviously whilst everything is going on in the background and I'm trying to sort things out from the back end, training for me, and I said the other week that it feels like kind of demotivating. The reason why it kind of feels a bit demotivating is that I've got a lot of stress going on. So training for me is almost like I'm leaning into the discipline aspect rather than like the motivation aspect. But I'm actually enjoying training like a lot right now, and there's hardly any stress for me, as in like I'm not expecting the world, because essentially I'm not putting too much pressure on sessions right now. So I was actually saying to Nat the other day, is like my physique, and I'll give you a physique update when I'm at the gym in a minute. My physique is actually in like a really good spot. It's arguably the best shape I've been in, like in an off season. Off seasons for me typically, they don't get sloppy, but they're not necessarily, I suppose, as productive as they need to be, right? But this is quite funny because essentially I've actually thought about the off season minimally, but I'm actually seeing insane results, which is quite funny. The training split that I'm moving to, or have moved to, was actually my first ever split, so it's very nostalgic as well, which is basically a full body times 4. Which is actually quite interesting because, again, it's one of the first splits I ever did. And I remember being so fucked from it. But essentially, because my programming is pretty good nowadays, I've got it running absolutely fucking seamlessly. So that's really cool. I'm really liking that split. I'll explain exactly like the nuance and kind of how I'm doing that potentially in future vlogs, but I'll just give you the basic layout of everything. It's basically 2 sets of every exercise, or 2 sets of every muscle group per, I suppose it would be, day, distributed and structured out evenly in them 4 sessions. It's very easy. I feel great from it. I'm recovering really well from it, considering I'm hitting muscle groups pretty much 4 times a week at the minute. So yeah, that's pretty cool. Anyway, I'm gonna go to the gym. There's the first life update, a big one, albeit, and I'm excited to actually talk about this stuff because essentially all my vlogs are basically like hints at stuff, and I don't like that. Hence why I haven't really put out as much content as I wanted to, because all I'm going to be doing is hinting at shit. So yeah, and I suppose like with the third business, I'm going to try and set that up so essentially that runs seamlessly in the background whilst I have time. Cool, done. That felt weird to say out loud. Anyway, you can call me Pappy if you want. That does. This is also another update. Yeah. Hey, we're a family now. We needed a bigger car, although people on Instagram were not happy with this purchase because it's a depreciating value item, right? My thing is that it is true, but we're only on this earth for a very, very short amount of time. So if you want to drive something or pay for something that you like driving, and you want to pay for something that you actually like having, then it's worth it. And frankly, who gives a fuck about someone you don't even know, you know? I feel like a lot of people, especially probably me like 2 or 3 years ago, would have cared for some random person's thoughts on my purchases, but couldn't give a fuck nowadays. Anyway, so that's that. I used to like hide purchases, by the way, which is fucking ridiculous, but just because I was scared of what people would say about it. But anyway, social media is a weird one, a very weird one. Anyway, today's session, I'm going to walk through every session.
I don't understand.
I'm going to have to take this thing off. I'm going to walk through every single session just to go through, I suppose, like exactly how the split is kind of working, because I understand when you just show a session it kind of looks a bit weird, but when you get the whole context of the split, you're like, oh, actually it kind of fits, right? But basically, when you look at this from a macro lens, this is basically an anterior posterior type session with accessory work of the next muscle group. Say for example, this one's basically a pull workout with hamstrings, and then on top of that we have accessory delts and accessory chests. You understand that the next variation, which would be a full body D, or the 4th session basically, is basically a push session, just with like lat pullovers and stuff like that, and just accessory work like biceps, for example. So yes, I'm hitting muscle groups 4 times, but I suppose like with the level of volume that's in the sessions as the accessory work, it's relatively low. Like the back end of the session, I only did 1 set of delts and I only did 1 set of pec flies, but they were muscle rounds. So full body, I think people theorize that it's going to take fucking ages. I got this wrapped up in an hour 15. To be honest, I don't really like being in the gym for more than an hour and a half. I just zone out. So but yeah, I'm thoroughly enjoying it, which is great. Every single time I'm in the gym, I'm excited to train, which is good. Again, my focus towards it throughout the day isn't where it used to be, but I think I've got to establish that this is going to be the new norm. Also, the really good thing with this split in particular is the fact that I can actually just knock off one of the days and it still works, because essentially it's full body times 4. If I just knock off the day, it's full body times 3, which is really good maths, to be honest. But that's the whole point in this, is that potentially if something does happen later down the line and I just need to drop a day, then I can do that, and I don't need to like drastically change my split towards that situation, because if you follow me for a while, I like having a split and then just sticking to the split for a fucking while. So that's basically the situation there. But training volume, I suppose, like for me, training volume is never really that high. I can't really get on with like high volume work. So yeah, I mean, for things like hamstrings, I'm still only working 3 sets in the week. Quads, same thing. Biceps, I still got like 6 sets. So it's nothing drastic. When you hear full body times all these days, you're like, what the fuck? I must be training with like 30 sets of each muscle group. It's like, the reality is, I could not recover from that. I suppose like when you look at 4-day splits as well, there's always this like assumption, especially 3 days as well, that there's always an assumption that potentially you're not gaining as much as people on 5-6 day splits. When in actuality, if your programming is pretty fucking shit hot, which I consider myself to be fairly savvy in that department, then you can make it work 100%. But I think there's a thing in your mind that's kind of like more is better, which is human nature for sure. But yeah, I mean, the most amount of muscle I've ever built is off the back of a 4-day split, and I've been very much a 6-day split advocate, 5-day split advocate. But yeah, where I've made the most gains is categorically a 4-day split. But again, I'm going to go through every single day on like a whiteboard, just so you kind of see everything, see where like if potentially you run a similar split. I suppose like you could gun weaker areas, right? So you could just add more volume where I have less volume. For instance, like chest, for example, I don't need a whole bunch of volume. You might, right? So you can just manipulate it that way. But I'll go through it in future vlogs anyway. Experimenting with length and partials too, so I'll report back. But especially with chest work. Anyway, back to vlog and stuff. Nothing, absolutely nothing on God's green earth can replicate or duplicate the feeling, the really cool feeling you get post gym. You're kind of fucked, you're pumped at the same time. It's just a very nice feeling. I crave it. But I did say you have a little reward for watching this video. Not only do you see my lovely face, but you also get rewarded. How amazing. But if you have been hiding underneath a rock, or you just point blank don't follow me on Instagram, we have something called the Upgrade Program. It's basically a muscle building program where you get weekly check-ins, the works. It's pretty much online coaching. So yeah, we're running that for the next 8 weeks. Start date is the 23rd. The slots have sold out. We opened up 5 more slots on Friday. That sold out. So what we're going to do is actually give you guys an opportunity to secure your spot, but I'm not going to promote it on Instagram or email list. It's going to be YouTube only, so it gives you guys an opportunity to secure your spot. It's only £100 for 8 weeks, which for online coaching is fucking ludicrous. And of course you get coached by myself, which in itself is an honor for you, right? But yeah, we're basically designing a program so you can learn as much about muscle building in an 8-week span, and then take it and rinse it for the next like 12 months. That's the whole design in it. You get a program, but you also get taught how to change things, what rate of gain to have, all the good stuff basically. So not only do you get jacked, you actually get educated. So basically, you no longer need my services after the 8 weeks. You're basically up to scratch with everything that I know. So yeah, all you got to do is head over to Instagram and DM the word upgrade, and I'll know you're from YouTube. So that's cool, and that'll secure your spot. I will then send you a link, and that will secure your spot. Again, only 5 slots are going to be available, because we do have to keep the first runoff of the upgrade fairly limited. So yeah, if you want to secure your spot, that's how to do it.
Could you try again?
Absolutely fucking not. The man of the hour.
I'm not a man.
How do you feel? Let everyone know.
I'm good.
Is it weird being pregnant? Anyway, thank you for watching today's vlog. Hope you're very well. Anything you want to say, Nat?
Bye.
Just bye.
From me and Smidger and Jack.
Yeah, the bump is called Smidger for reference. I haven't told them that we call it Smidger.
It was your doing.
Anyway, it is my doing. Now there's 2 people that are going to call me daddy. Alright, much love.